Greetings everyone and welcome back to another episode of Fanfic Read-Through. The funny thing about doing this project is that I get to reread my old fanfics, which I haven't done in ages, not more than to look for a specific chapter to get a specific detail right. And it's kind of fun because I realized that I had a lot of things going on, and a lot of the things I was hinting at in the beginning I forgot. But it ties well together with the rest of the story. And things that happen in previous stories always comes up in later ones, like the fact that when Valerie is talking about is talking about her problem at the library, she actually means that she encountered Skulker at the library and was fighting him, which is something that Danny caused because he and Tucker hacked Skulker's suit and had the PDA send him to the library to look up information about the purple-backed gorilla, where Valerie found him and fought him. And this is things that happens outside of the story, and I just now realized that this was something I had written about and hinted at in this story, which is really fun. Anyways, I'm not going to take up more of your time now, so please enjoy. Boiling Point, Chapter 5 and 6. Fuming, Danny would have missed his ghost sense if he hadn't been standing in front of the bathroom mirror and seen the condensation of his breath forming a blue vapor around his mouth. He met the eyes of his own reflection, glowing green, a bestial smile on his lips. Putting his things inside the bathroom stall, he locked it and made sure no one else was in the bathroom. Touching the cold, familiar feeling inside of his chest, he hummed the old catchphrase in excitement. Going ghost! The light appearing around him, leaving a feeling of crackling power on his skin as he changed into phantom. Legs turning into a tail, he suddenly noticed the absence of aching pain that he hadn't even thought of before. Turning intangible, Danny flew straight up. Through the music classroom, starting the a cappella group that was practicing. Through the art classroom, where a student jumped up from the floor where he'd been working. Straight through the attic with all the unused equipment, old boxes, the cogs of the school clock, and out into the open autumn air. Taking a deep breath, Danny listened. His hearing was better than any human. Not only could he pick up the sound of startled students inside the school saying his name, but also the sound of cars on the street, the wheezing of the school old ventilation, and the flapping of 3 vulture ghost wings. Danny swept off in the direction of the sound, hearing the school bell ring, not caring in the least if he was going to be late from his Lancers board's math class. The 3 ghosts were flying in formation, something large and very familiar suspended from ropes between them. Honestly, can't Vlad make his own inventions anymore? Asked Danny, floating up in front of them. Pardon me, Ghost Boy, but we're in a hurry, said one, breathing heavily from the strain of carrying the ecto-stoppo power of fire. Yeah, if you aren't interested in helping us get, as the kids say, lost, the second puff. Are you interested in helping us carry this thing? Asked the third vulture, his fez almost falling off his head. Yeah, sure, smiled Danny, charging up a ghost ray. Back to Phantom Works where it belongs. He sent a blast hurtling towards the frontmost ghost. The vulture ghost let go of the ropes, avoiding Danny's blast, but his friends dropped a couple of meters, trying to hold up the machine by themselves. No, please, just let go. It's not like we're gonna get smashed here or anything, said the third vulture ghost, his wings flapping harder. Not a team player today, asked Danny, sending his ghost ray at the vulture in front of him. The old ghost was still agile. Avoiding Danny's shot, he swept in to claw at Danny. Don't you know, boy? It's called tactic. Avoiding the vulture's claws, Danny fired off a blast of cold ice. Just chill, will you? He said, missing the bird. What's the matter? Can't hit the broadside of a barn anymore? Taunted the vulture ghost, coming in for a second attack. Once more, Danny avoided the ghost attack and got a look at the other 2 ghosts. They were putting down the machine on the parking lot just beside the football field. You missed the blue sports car, shouted Danny, sending a blast of ice their way. Turning back to the first one, he managed to avoid getting clawed by it. The odds were against him. He had no trouble fighting the vulture ghosts normally. They were weak, but they seemed to have gotten lessons in tactic. They swooped in and out of range, never going in a straight line long enough for Danny to predict where he should aim for next blast. The constant spinning around made him dizzy. "What's the matter, boy? Can't keep up with old folks?" a vulture taunted when Danny's next ghost ray flew wide. "Stay still and I'll show you," retorted Danny, his next shot grazing one of the ghost's wings. "Ha! Got you! Whoa!" He had stayed still too long. The second vulture had swept its claws along Danny's side, tearing through the fabric of his suit and scraping his skin. Suppressing the urge to press a hand against the stinging wound in his side, Danny flew up. Looking down, he saw the vulture ghost following, gaining on him fast. Concentrating, Danny charged a sphere of ghost energy, turning and sending it at the vultures that scatter. The sphere expanded in an explosion, temporarily blinding everyone who looked at it. Blinking the spots from his eyes, Danny looked around, trying to see where the vulture had gone off to. Turning slowly, he scanned the ground as well as the sky, but didn't get the slightest hint of where they were. "Huh," he said, putting his hands on his hips. "Scared them off. At least they didn't get the stupid name invention." He trailed off, looking at the spot in the parking lot where the machine had been standing moments before. "Great!" he exclaimed in frustration, throwing his hands up. "Not only am I late for math, I don't even get the satisfaction of knowing I saved that stupid machine." He descended slowly, arms crossed as he muttered to himself. "I didn't even get to punch those damned vultures back to Vlad's mansion. Hell, I should have dropped them off at his office if I had gotten the chance." He turned invisible before descending through the school, getting a glimpse of a chaotic art classroom, and almost going deaf passing close to the stereo in the music classroom just as someone was playing a guitar solo. Landing on the toilet seat in the bathroom, he turned visible. Touching his injured side, he looked at the green ectoplasm on his gloved hand. Just a scrape, he thought, picking up his backpack. He had to take out all of the books he'd crammed into it that morning. In the bottom of his bag was the well-stocked first aid kit. Like the one Sam and Tucker always carried, Dennis had everything he needed to patch himself up. Turning back into Fenton, Danny felt heavy again, his body aching from the strain of the fight. Quickly, he removed his t-shirt before any blood got in it. He had learned long ago that even if he healed quickly, his ghost powers didn't make him immune to infections. Cleaning out the long scrapes with the strongest disinfectant they could get their hands on stung, but the bleeding stopped quickly. Looking down, Danny removed the bandages from where it had covered the small entry wound, courtesy of Jack the Ripper. It still hadn't healed up, even after 4 days of rest. Danny had begun to wonder if it was taking so long to heal because the sword he'd gotten stabbed with had taken part of his ghost powers, as the cut on his forehead had already turned into a scar. Most likely, he thought, it was just because the sword was something stronger than the normal weapon he got hit by. The wounds were still healing fast. The cut on his abdomen was scabbed over, the stitches itching. He put on the dressing again, followed by his t-shirt. Packing his bags once more, Danny threw away the bloody cotton swabs he'd used to clean the scrapes, before finally glaring at the crutches with despite. End of Chapter 5. Chapter 6. Danny hobbled along the school corridor, not really in a hurry. He was already late for class. A minute or two more wasn't going to make much difference to Mr. Lancer. He was wondering what sort of excuse he was going to use. It was always the truth, but like always, Danny never considered that option. He could tell Mr. Lancer he'd been locked in the bathroom, and it would only be a half-lie. But most likely, he was going to get detention, whatever he said. So he wasn't going to say anything. Just take Mr. Lancer's disappointment and sit down beside Sam and Tucker. Footsteps made Danny look up and stop in his tracks. "There you are, Fentard," sneered Dash, a wide grin on his face. "I was wondering where you were hiding when you didn't show up for math." He started popping his knuckles, walking towards Danny. "Let me guess, you got a C in math too?" asked Danny, backing up and looking around, painfully aware that he had nowhere to run. Not that there weren't perfectly good hiding spots to go ghost in nearby. He just wouldn't make it there before Dash got to him. D+. Dash moved fast. "And you know what that means for your face, Fentard?" Danny glanced up and saw what he was looking for. "An extreme makeover?" he said, backing up even more. "Correct," grinned Dash, closing in on him. Swallowing, Danny stopped, forcing down the lump in his throat. Getting right up in Danny's face, Dash gripped the front of his t-shirt and slammed him into the lockers, lining that part of the corridor's wall. Danny made a face as the lock on one of the lockers dug into his back. You know you're real pathetic, hissed Danny. You can't even do basic multiplications. Dash smacked Danny in the face with his fist. What's the matter? No way to comment now, loser? Danny gritted his teeth. The first hit hurt, splitting open an old scar from previous hits on his lip. The second hurt even more. He knew that the best way to deal with Dash, or any bully, was to do nothing, to let them exhaust themselves. If he didn't fight back, Dash would lose interest and just let him be. The third hit was close to his eyes, lights dancing in front of his vision, making Danny see red. Is the baby gonna cry? Taunted Dash, raising his fist once more. The fourth punch never connected. Danny had shifted his head, and Dash's fist slammed the lock behind him. While Dash was momentarily distracted, Danny dropped his crutches and raised his left hand, gripping the fist that was holding him pressed against the locker. Oh, you're finally going to fight back? Danny twisted Dash's hand hard, drawing a gasp of pain from him. Getting his feet back on the floor, he slammed his fist into Dash's chest. The larger teenager gasped, bending forward. Swinging his large arms, Dash tried to hit Danny, but the smaller boy saw them coming. He dodged and hissed in annoyance when his weight came down on his right leg. Dash got a second grip on the front of Danny's t-shirt, slamming him into the lockers once more, driving the air out of his lungs. You're going to pay for that, snarled Dash, slamming Danny against the locker again. The smoked barbecue taste filled Danny's mouth. Gripping both of Dash's hands, Danny showed his teeth in a predatory grin. Having had self-defense classes with his mom and sister had taught him how to break a hold. His feet were already suspended from the ground, and swinging them up was easy. Danny had as bad a memory as his dad sometime, but he had learned that his muscles' memory were as great as his mom's. Twisting, Danny not only broke Dash's grip on him, but also brought them both down on the floor that would have given him a lock on Dash's arm if it hadn't been for his injured leg not moving as fluently as it should. Dash broke free of Danny's hold and got back up before Danny could. I'm going to kill you, you little twat! Dash kicked at Danny. 2 years of fighting Ghost had given Danny great reflexes, to the point that he got his arms up and blocked Dash's kick, rolling with the blow, lessening some of the force. You're going to regret ever being born! Shouted Dash, throwing a punch at Danny's face. Getting his left foot under him, Danny kicked out, striking Dash in the same spot on his chest as before, driving the air from the football players along, and at the same time drawing a cry of pain from himself. He had kicked with his right leg, and if standing on it was painful, kicking Dash's hard muscled chest with everything he had was agonizing. Pain from his abdomen, back and leg had Danny temporarily unmoving on the ground as Dash regained himself enough to kick at Danny hard, shouting threats. Danny latched onto Dash's foot, meeting the larger boy's eyes, licking his lips as he tasted sweet fear in the barbecue taste of anger. Yanking Dash's legs out from under him, the larger boy hit the ground hard and stared in fear as Danny straightened. Looking down at him with ice-cold anger, there was no fear in Danny's eyes anymore. No pain, there was nothing but hunger. You feel it now, Dash, said Danny, licking his lips. The fear. You know what's gonna happen, don't you? Danny moved, standing over Dash, leaning on his good leg. What the hell is wrong with you, freak? Shouted Dash, the words making Danny smile even wider. What's wrong with me? I have been avoiding you all day. I'm tired and in no mood for this, growled Danny, his voice low and completely void of emotion. He shifted his balance, never looking away from Dash's face, his tongue flicking over his lips. You wouldn't. You're weak. You're just a nerd, nothing but a loser, ranted Dash, the confidence gone from his voice. Danny smiled, showing sharp teeth. Dash's heart was racing. He was breathing fast. Goodbye, Dash. He said the name with disgust and swung his right fist at the blonde jockey's face, all of his strength behind it. End of chapter 6.